back to another episode of the Moz House podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Begun, and I'm here with our current artist in residence, Olga L. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It was a interesting day. I just got a new puppy a couple weeks ago, and
Nice.
they are very rambunctious and did not want me to leave. But that's besides the point. His name is, for anyone wondering, his name is Saka, although I'm sure people do not care. All right, so could you tell us a little bit about what kind of artist you are, what you do?
Yeah, so I am a playwright. I am also a folkloric dancer. I do dances from multiple parts of Africa and the diaspora, and a performance artist.
Very cool. So I definitely want to ask about the playwriting, because that's I'm interested in not necessarily writing plays, but TV shows and movies. Could you give us a little insight into your process of writing a play?
Well, my process, that has changed depending on the play. Sometimes I have an idea of where I want to start and where I want to end up, and even some of the points that I want to hit, and I create an outline and I just kind of fill in the outline and it goes really smoothly. Other times, like right now, there's this saying like when you're driving on a dark road, you can only see as far as the headlights go in front of you, and that's kind of how I'm writing right now. Like I don't quite know where it's gonna go. I have a better idea than when I started. My best advice to anyone who wants to write anything is just to sit down and write, even if it totally sucks or whatever. Like you don't like it, just start writing, and then the ideas will start to come. So that's kind of what I have to force myself to do, because I'm not used to not having an outline where I at least have an idea of like where I want to end up. So that's my process right now, forcing myself to write
Very cool.
and then forcing myself to get up away from the computer and stretch or walk or something. I think that's also really important.
Very cool. So this doesn't have anything to do with your art, but you just mentioned one of my favorite like sayings, I guess, like when you're driving in the dark you can only see like with just our headlights. For some reason when I was in like elementary school, we had like some person come to talk about, I don't remember what, but they just said that quote, and for some reason like every couple months that will just come with my, like someone asked me for like a quote, I'll be like, well, that's my favorite quote, I guess.
Nice.
It's interesting that you know too. Pretty cool. So in terms of when you're writing, when you come up with your ideas, do they come from, like, do you get inspiration? How do you like find your ideas? Like what does something often inspire you? Is it
Yeah, I mean, all of my work is pretty socio-political, and okay, not all, never mind, I take that back. Most of it. And I tend to draw a lot from world folklore, because I've been really into folklore and mythology since I was a child. And my parents were very worldly, so I kind of had exposure to different types of cultures. And so like folklore and mythology is a strong element in my work. I guess you could say I write a lot of magical realism. So I take a lot from those, like what some people call mythological, what other people would call spiritual worlds. And I also take a lot from current events, or kind of the stories of the marginalized, the stories that we're not seeing on TV all the time, or on the stage. And I do take quite a bit from like either people I know or my own life, but it's never like an exact, I'm going to write about someone I know. At least I haven't done that yet. Maybe I will one day. But yeah, I'm often inspired by just the voices of the marginalized and the stories and the histories that aren't normally told, and putting that on the stage, but in an interesting way. Sorry about that. Turn my alarm off. And putting that not putting that on a stage in a way that can combine the worlds of realism, socio-political realism, and then like magical realism, and turning that into a story.
Very cool. I have two questions off that. First one is, what is your favorite like mythology that you have that you don't write about, or just like in general?
Favorite mythology? Oh man. Do I have a favorite?
This could also be region of where the mythology is from.
God, that's a great question. I've never actually thought about that. I don't know if I have a favorite, but the play trilogy that I'm working on right now, the first one works a lot with 1001 Nights, which is stories from all over the ancient world, but like predominantly Asia and parts of Africa. The second play in the trilogy revolves around Afro-Brazilian mythology, so incorporates a lot of the indigenous Native American folklore in Brazil, particularly around the jaguar, and also the West African spiritual traditions that were brought to the New World, like all over, particularly Latin America and the Caribbean, but also in parts of North America and etc. And in Brazil, that has its own unique manifestations. So those two traditions influenced the second work. And then the third work that I'm struggling with is, I think, going to incorporate multiple mythologies. But right now there's some kind of like fascinating female figures in Taoism and like Chinese folkloric traditions, like I guess you could call it Chinese folklore, and so that's influencing the third work.
Very cool. I used to be obsessed with like Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology.
Yeah, same.
When I was a kid, and
but then I realized there's a lot more than just Greek and Roman mythology. I mean, I went through phases as a kid, so I think like I probably. That was definitely like a strong like when I was in elementary school. Like, yes. Did you watch Hercules and Xena? Like, I really watched that really religiously. Yeah. And then I went through an ancient Egypt phase. I mean, I guess if I had to pick, I would say like the continent of Africa, which is a huge continent, has all different kinds of traditions and mythologies. But I guess the history and mythologies of the continent are really interesting to me. Just the idea of like Africa being like a cradle for like humanity, and like how like stories are connected and we can see similar stories in different places, and like that's all interesting to me. But yeah, I went through the ancient Egypt phase as a kid, and I definitely like wrapped my 3-foot Barbie in a bunch of toilet paper and put her in one of my mom's trunks. And I mean, because I was more of a visual artist when I was a kid, so I made a little mask, and like it was a whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it's pretty cool. I never went that far personally into wrapping things. What is that called? A mummification?
Yeah.
I never mummified anything on purpose. But I don't know. When I was a kid, I did not like to. Reading got ruined for me in one of these classes. They put me in reading. It was called enrichment. It was like for the smart people. Was it? I don't know. I don't think it was. But they made me read the worst book ever, Trumpet of the Swan, and it was about a swan who couldn't make the noise, like a goose noise, so they got a trumpet. And it was so bad. My mom would like force me to read it, and I'd be like crying while reading. It's like, it's so bad. And then
that's kind of amazing. I've never read a book that was so bad that I cried.
It ruined it.
I did refuse to read a lot of books that were assigned to me in school, but I did a lot of reading that I wanted to do outside of school that wasn't assigned, but that, in my opinion, was way better than what they were assigning. So there's that.
And then I finally found Percy Jackson and the Olympians or whatever as a kid, and I was like, this is pretty cool. And then in social studies class, I always loved like the Greek and Egyptian mythology. And then when I got to my senior year of high school, I started taking like East Asian studies, and then I was like, oh, these might be even cooler than the other Greek, the Greeks. So that's my background on mythology, in case anyone cares. And my favorite, I think, might be Greek because that was my original. Yeah.
Fun.
So you mentioned you're writing a trilogy, which is pretty cool. I didn't know people wrote trilogies for plays.
I don't know if they do that typically. I'm just doing that.
It's a cool idea. How did that come to be?
I mean, honestly, I think because the stories on the surface are completely different, but they all have this element, obviously the socio-political element, which kind of goes through all of my work, but they all have these strong connection to mythology and strong storytelling elements. So in one play, the storyteller is speaking directly to the audience, and there's a lot of like immersive kind of interaction with the audience. In another play, the storyteller isn't speaking directly to the audience, but speaking to someone else on stage, and they're going back and forth. So like my like idea was kind of to bring back the storytelling traditions of like multiple cultures. I mean, I think it's a human thing that, our earliest forms of entertainment were storytelling. And we have a lot of different versions of that now, but the version that you don't see so often anymore is like, someone sitting in the center of a bunch of people sitting around them, and that person tells a story to them. You might see it in like kindergarten classes, but I don't think that it should be limited to that. So that, I guess maybe that was kind of part of the inspiration for just kind of grouping these three works into a trilogy. And they also have other things that combine them. Like I'm a movement artist, so like a lot of movement and music is incorporated into all the shows as well.
It was very interesting. I spent about almost an hour. We had to cut it out of the podcast basically because me and one of the last artist residents, Pachi, got into this conversation about how oral tradition is lost completely basically because we had to he brought up that books ruined oral tradition for people because then it took away people going around in circle and telling a story. People had to like think about meanings instead of intuitively getting them from people's like body language and facial stuff.
Interesting, yeah.
But he reads. I asked him, "Oh, do you have any?" There's this article about him called Radical something, and he named like 1 billion books. So he was a very avid reader, but I thought that was just so interesting that it's coming up again. So many people. It's like one of the reasons I started the podcast because the oral way of telling stories and talking is a great way to it's kind of in Western civilization like shamed upon of like learning history from someone telling you what happened rather than someone writes it down, then it's like, oh, now you know what really happened if it's in a book.
Well, people can still alter a book.
Yeah,
I mean, I won't mention certain books by name, but there are plenty of books that have been altered many times by people. So, I mean, just because you put it down on paper does not mean that hasn't been altered and doesn't mean that it's true. So, oral traditions, I feel like it forces people to remember and use their brains in ways that maybe we don't always have to do if something's recorded in a book or recorded on the phone, and people did that for thousands of years. So it's I don't know that my work will necessarily revive it completely, but maybe we'll at least have a little bit of it, a little bit more of it in our lives.
Yeah, and anyone can pass down oral tradition, but not everyone can write a book. So I think it's a great way to get history from people, especially the elders of your communities.
Yeah. It's a great
try
point.
to do. It's hard to get them to want to tell their story sometimes nowadays, but
yeah,
when I do get them, they always have very interesting things to say, and so hoping to get more of those.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned a magical realism. Could you like break it down a little bit for me so I can understand it? I think I know exactly what it is, but
my understanding of it is just like you have, let's say, a world that you're writing about today's world. 2023, Biden is president. Fires just happened in Maui. This world, right? But you are incorporating things that maybe some people believe are real, but fantastical elements that are considered not real or magic or fantasy. You're incorporating that into your telling of or your creation of a world that is otherwise very real. That's, I guess, I think that's the most simple explanation of it. Like, it's not a complete fantasy world. It's not like, planet, XYZ with like blue Martian people walking around kind of thing. It's like this world, things that actually happen or things that have actually happened, but adding the fantastical to that.
I think my favorite, I never knew how to describe one of my favorite movies ever, but I guess it's Sorry to Bother You. Have you seen that before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one's pretty cool.
Definitely magical realism. When I first watched it, I was like, I'm not sure why I like this movie so much. It's just this guy going to work. And then it was not just this guy going to work anymore.
Yeah, that was a lot. I saw that so long ago. And I just remember horse people.
Yeah, he literally got turned into a workhorse. I was like, oh my God, this is the best movie ever. And, if anyone hasn't seen the movie, go watch it. I think it's a good example of magical realism. Could be wrong. Is that a good example of magical realism, would you say?
I guess so. It was so absurd that I didn't even think like, oh, this is magical realism, but I guess it is. Yeah. There's another one that I haven't seen. It's a series and I don't know its streaming service, but I think it's called I think it's the same director or writer, I'm not sure. God, what's it called? I think it's called But I'm a Virgo.
But I'm a Virgo?
Yeah. And I don't even know what it's about. Whatever. It had a very similar vibe to Sorry to Bother You. And I think it might actually be the same director.
What's it called again?
But I'm a Virgo.
But I'm a Virgo. I thought it was Don't Be a Virgo.
Well, I'm a Virgo. Today's my birthday. So.
Today's your birthday?
Yeah.
Oh my God, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I had no idea it was your birthday.
I know. I kind of forgot too. Then like I started getting all the texts and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, right.
Right, just there's another day in Ma's house. Now it's my birthday all of a sudden. Oh, very happy birthday.
Super blue moon today.
Oh my God, yes, I heard it is like the
second full moon in the month, and it's also very close to the Earth, or at least visibly larger, looking larger, or something like that. So maybe we'll catch it because it's sunny now.
Oh, yeah, I did see that's not happening again for like 20 years or something.
Yeah,
maybe a little shorter.
like it's really rare for some reason. I read a little bit about it. Anyway.
I was talking to my friend about it last night, and I told him, I was like, yeah, the moon's going to be blue tomorrow. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh. I'm like, yo, it's a blue moon. He's like, no, it's not. I told him, yep, it turns blue every once in a while. So, yeah. I'm actually really excited to see it turn blue. What a good way to mark your birthday.
I don't know if it turns blue or if it's just a name. I think it's just like a name. But it will be apparently really beautiful because it'll be so blue. Big. And also Saturn is showing up next to it. It's a whole thing.
We need to install a telescope here at Ma's house.
Yeah, you should do it. You guys have enough darkness that you could.
We do.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about living here. So I used to live where there's lots of light pollution. Mm-hmm. And when I was in Philadelphia, my mom had moved here. I moved back here. I would come home from the city here, and first thing I do, I just look up and be like, oh my God, I can see the stars again.
Right.
It's so nice. But it's also very dark. It's
yeah.
hard to see.
It was a little hard to drive around the other night. I was like, ugh.
I need to wear glasses at nighttime to drive. Otherwise, who knows what I'll hit. I'll definitely wear my glasses to view the fake blue moon. Yeah. So, a couple questions about, I guess, how did you discover Ma's house?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know what I was looking at exactly, but I just remember it being intriguing because it's on this like ancestral land of the Shinnecock, which is awesome that they would open their lands up, and that Jeremy came up with this idea to cater to BIPOC artists. And I mean, that's really what intrigued me. I was like, well, that's fascinating. Like, where did I find it? I have no idea. So, because I feel like this was a couple years ago now, because originally I was supposed to come last summer, but that summer, I mean, both summers were super crazy, but last summer I was going away to like this writing fellowship thing. Then I had something else a week after that. And I was just like, okay, like there was like work stuff going on. I was like, yeah, okay, I don't think I can come this summer. And I'm actually glad that I came. these particular 2 weeks, because then you have the powwow coming, and
Yes,
like
you're very lucky.
yeah, no, I'm super excited because I would not have come 3 hours from New York City on that freezing cold train otherwise, and a couple of my native friends have been saying that it's a really good powwow, so I'm excited.
I would say it's the best powwow, but
Nice.
it's the only one I've ever been to. So
Well, okay, well,
I've been to.
you might
Actually,
be biased.
I've been to 25 powwows, and they've all been this one. So, and I eventually was thinking like, I should probably try a different powwow one of these days.
You could.
But mine's the best. That's all I know. Because I'm there. You get to see me up there dancing.
Yeah,
I danced
nice.
twice. Usually, maybe I'll dance.
Are you gonna
once
compete?
or twice. No, hell no.
Okay. Oh.
I'm very bad at dancing.
Okay.
Like, it's really. I try though. But I am. Oh boy. It's not a good look. But
I mean, it's all that's important is that you dance.
yeah, I do the grand entry. It's one or two of them. Sometimes I'll get dragged into doing another dance
Okay.
with somebody,
Nice.
and then I just hope I don't look too much of a fool up there. But I think people are mostly looking at the good dancers. People are very amazing at it. Especially the fancy dancers. Oh my god.
I'm excited.
So good.
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm going to be too dressed down. I was like, and I can only carry so much in my suitcase. I definitely should have bought more clothes.
It's so hot and disgusting out there and
Oh,
dusty
really?
sometimes. But if it doesn't rain at all, it'll be very dusty. You'll get coated in like a layer of dust.
Nice.
So whatever, it doesn't matter. You don't have to wear anything nice.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I wouldn't. And then it gets very hot. I mean, especially in like your regalia, my regalia, and it feels like I'm dying in there sometimes. But last year was like cool and it like rained a little bit, so it was like it wasn't so much dust.
Right.
But this year it looks like we're having beautiful weather, which is time
Yeah,
for
it's like
Dust Bowl.
70s and stuff. I think it'll be okay.
I hope so.
We'll see.
There's lots of cool stuff to buy, like lots of good food. Definitely get some fry bread.
Yeah.
What are you gonna be doing? Are you gonna be like hanging out at the Ma's house booth for a little bit? That's actually, you're very lucky you have a booth to be able to like go to. We have two. Antonisa's, which is like her own booth, and then we have the Ma's house booth, which is first time ever happening.
Right. Well, I heard that you guys that's going to be a new thing. But I think they're going to be focusing on like, I guess, promoting the residency, right? Or maybe the gallery, or I'm not sure what they're.
I'm not sure, honestly. I think, well, actually, I did ask Jeremy about it. And I think he's going to have you can only sell native art there.
Right.
So unfortunately, a lot of the art that we would be selling, that some of the artists have left a lot of here, we can't actually put on. But Jeremy has his stuff. He has a ton of books and stuff.
The house is native. I mean, like Ma's house is a native-run
True
residency, so you could argue.
Yeah,
that
I was thinking
it is our initiative.
True, I guess because then we get like consignment kind of, when the artist gets money, we get money.
Yeah.
That could be
I
an
feel
argument
like you
used.
guys should renegotiate that.
The tribe is already mad at us because we let so many people show up. Well, not necessarily the tribe. It's gossip. We have people are enemies of Ma's house a little bit.
What?
I don't know. Sometimes there's like a group of people that just are upset that Jeremy's doing well. And at Ma's house.
That's what it really is.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's an awesome initiative. I mean, you could also, have the residency only be for, like, native artists, too, which would also be cool. But, like, I think what he's doing is really cool. I mean, like, I've recommended it also to, like, my native friends, but I've also shared about it in general. And, like, I just think it's, like, such a cool initiative. And that, like, is it, I don't know if it's maybe Jeremy's grandmother, but someone had a vision for this house being a museum, right? Like, I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was Ma who wanted it to become a museum one day.
Yeah, and it's so cool that is like happening.
It happened.
How can anyone not like that? It's so weird.
Because people are a little crazy.
Oh my god, drama.
Yeah. So we used to have a Shinnecock museum.
Oh.
And Jeremy was on the board. And everyone was like just fucking it up.
Oh no.
Jeremy was like doing whatever he could.
What does that mean? Like what?
It is closed now.
Oh.
And then Jeremy really tried to like get it up and running, but it was just everyone involved it just wasn't working out.
That sucks.
So then he ended up doing here, and now everyone's mad that he made a museum and stuff. So
Well, whatever.
Yeah, it's a whole. That's the inside scoop on the Shinnecock drama. Maybe I'll take that out. We'll see. Let's see. I'll mark that down. At 20 minutes, Hunter starts talking crazy.
Well, it depends on who you're listening. Like, I was gonna say viewership, but that's not the right word.
Listening-ship?
You know, if it's just general artists, you might be okay. I don't know.
It would be mostly your friends.
Okay.
Hopefully. Right. I'm trying to get people that want to watch for me, but it's hard to do that. No one cares. Everyone's here for the artists usually, and then I guess we have a lot of NPR listeners.
Oh, cool!
And just have found us, and they like the artists, and think Mouse House is cool.
Nice.
Shout out to WLIW for helping us out with that. So I was going to ask you, how does your way of making art change when you're on a residency rather than when you're in your own area? But I think you answered that. But if there's anything else you have to add.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. It depends on the time. It depends on what's happening around. Like, I've had residencies where I had to, like, work a day job half the time, you know? Wow. And yeah, I know. It was, like, terrible. And then I've had others where, like, I spent most of the time actually just walking around in nature. And here I feel like it's been kind of a mix of things, you know? It's been, like, I've gone out a little bit. I mean, unfortunately, I got sick, like, my second day here, so that kind of cut 2 days out of my, you know, what I would have been doing. But, yeah, I've had some time to do some personal work. I've had some time to do some other work. I've had some time to get out a little bit. So, you know, I don't know that it changes that much, except you have the isolation, because last year I didn't live by myself. I had a roommate. But this year, since November of last year, I've been living by myself. So it's like, well, I guess technically I'm isolated at home too. But anyway, it's nice to be in a different environment. You know, sometimes that alone gives artists inspiration, like just not being in their typical studio or apartment or whatever it is, you know. And being surrounded by trees, I love, like, looking at the chickens. And I saw a hummingbird, I saw a deer. What else did I see while I was here? A lot of spiders. I feel like every time I go to a residency, there's a lot of spiders, which I don't mind spiders, so it's fine as long as they're, like, not on me. Yeah. Oh, turkeys. Oh, my God. I tried to go talk to the turkeys, and they ran away. I was like, okay.
The turkeys ran.
Yeah.
Well, it's always funny because, like, people who live in New York City, like, never see deer or, like, lots of animals. But, like, here, I probably see 50 deer in, like, 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. They're coming for the apples. I mean, I've seen deer, like, deer are fairly common. And, like, especially when I, like, have traveled around, I've seen deer. Turkeys, though.
Turkeys are pretty rare.
Weirdly, they are where I grew up. Like, I grew up in South Jersey near Philadelphia. I've spent the last 20 years in New York City, but, like, you would think I'd seen, like, a live turkey before. And maybe I have, but I don't remember it. Like, so when I saw the turkeys, I was like, oh, my God, turkeys.
Turkeys are everywhere. I kind of like turkeys. I think I like turkeys more than chickens, honestly.
Chickens are loud. They talk a lot, but I think it's hilarious. I'm just like, you get used to it. I feel like I'm in a tropical place. I'm like, they sound like some weird tropical animal.
A nice exotic bird that people see one time in their entire life, but no, there's like a million of them here. One thing, so when I was younger, there was a chicken outside the house. So I live on the res now, and we would come here for the summers when we didn't have school, and there was some reason for like 5 years of my childhood, there was a chicken that was just outside the house, just like wild. And every day would like walk up to the house and start doing his cuckooing and then go back into the woods at like 6 a.m. And then so I think that kind of soured me on chickens. I was like, why? Why are you doing this to me? What did I do to you? Just every day.
Yeah. They talk nonstop. I'm surprised that we don't hear them right now.
They are respecting the podcast.
Yeah, apparently.
This time. After I had to get talking with them last time about it. So I know you do a lot of art mediums. Can you tell me a little bit about the movement art aspect?
Oh yeah. Well, right now it's interesting because since COVID, I haven't been performing as much myself. But like I said, I'm always like incorporating dance into my plays, so it's always an element that is present. Um, but yeah, I spent many years studying like Afro Latin dances, samba, salsa, Egyptian dance, Congolese dance, Haitian dance. Basically, any type of I'm interested in any type of dance that comes from the continent of Africa because that's like most of my direct heritage. But there have been other dances as well. Like I had my one of my best friends and my dance partner for a long time. She was from Bangladesh and she did traditional Odissi dancing, and so I started not even trying to start picking up some of her movements and mannerisms just because we work together so much. That is like the tiniest part of kind of my movement style now, just because like we were around each other so much. And I really love like working with dancers from around the world and just like seeing different people's traditions. Like I'm so excited about this powwow because I want to see the dancing. I think I like the music more actually, but I want to see like the movement like in person. You know, it's different.
We have dancers from all over come to this
Yeah.
event, and so you'll see a lot of different types of dancing. So
Yeah. I have a friend who's gonna come and vend. I think he's gonna vend. I don't know. I didn't ask that. I just know that he's coming. And then I was speaking to another friend who had been to this powwow before, but isn't coming this time. Really awesome Apache artist. So yeah, I'm excited. I just love dance. I love any kind of dance. But like when my parents did like before I was born, mostly they were in a regional ballet company, and they also did a lot of like, you know, popular dance forms like street dance and stuff, like whatever was popular when they were growing up. And I kind of had a little bit of like a ballet tap jazz background when I was very, very young, but then like we couldn't afford to keep up the dance lessons. My sister was born. But like as I got older, I was like, I don't have to limit myself to that. Like there's a whole world of dance that I actually love like way more, you know, and dances that are more connected to like my personal heritage and history, and like why not do those? And those are just as, if not, to me, they're more amazing, you know, the music, the dancing, the movement, and how those interact and like kind of call and response work with each other. Like you don't get that so much in certain like Western forms of dance. And so anyway, that's my
cool.
My dance feel.
So have you performed your own dance in like the PlayStation Theater?
Let's see, what was in PlayStation? That was okay. So when we did that show, I think it was still called the Nokia Theater or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that I don't even know if that theater is still open anymore, but it went through several name changes and I guess several different owners. That was, I think this show, if I remember correctly, was we were dancing with a group called Akrasakauda, which is like a Iraqi metal band.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if they're still active, but yeah, that was me and a couple of women from, oh God, was it the old dance group? No, that was the Kindeki, yeah. I'm trying to remember. Gosh, that was a long time ago. Anyway, yes, we did dance there. We did a lot of interesting things on the stage with a Rocky metal band.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I think Ministry was also playing, which is like this like old school industrial band, like pre 9 Inch Nails. Like if anybody cares about that genre of music, maybe not pre. I don't know. Whatever. I'm messing up my histories here right now. But yeah, it was a really fun show. I actually like dancing to all different types of music. I kind of in a similar way that my plays kind of combine the ancient and the modern. I feel like we did a lot of that with the dance stuff too, like just like doing traditional dances, but like to contemporary music, or like finding like fun ways to like incorporate the new world and the old world, you know.
Dancing to metal music seems very difficult.
Eh.
No, it's not.
No,
For
not
someone
really.
Like, for a professional dancer.
I mean,
No
it was
sweat.
also just like, you know, I think more theatrical and like whatever. I mean, it was yeah, I remember that being fun.
So I wanted to rate PlayStation Theater because I've only been there once, and I won tickets on the radio to see Nas.
Oh wow, okay.
He came out with like the Nasir album. And it was his first time performing it in New York. And so it was 21 plus. I was 18. So, and I had a fake ID because I was in college. And I only had one, and they won 2 tickets. So I got my friend Eric, because he was the one who like told me to like listen to Nas in the first place. And so I go in, we're on this super long line to get in. I use my fake ID, and they look at it, and they're like, They give it back, they let me in, and then I just pass my ID back to my friend who's right behind me. I look at it again, and he gives it to him, and he goes, okay, and then
That is
looks nothing like me.
hilarious. I can't believe that actually worked. Like,
neither could I. He was the guy who's like, oh, Hunter, we're not getting in. This sucks. I'm like, don't worry, Eric. And we got in. That was a very good day. So it's pretty cool that you performed in the same place that Nas did.
yeah.
Only the greatest artists are allowed to perform there. So
I guess so. I mean, like, I do not know if that, because I feel like there was some theater that, like a large theater that I performed in that isn't open anymore, and I'm not sure if it's that one. Or maybe they just underwent another name change, honestly. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. Anyway.
It's crazy that companies can just buy the name of theaters and like stadiums and stuff.
Yeah.
And they go through it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's very strange, actually. So I also want to ask about HBO, because I like TV shows.
HBO, God. Man, you went far to like... Oh, that was... oh, God, what's his name? That was something with... Oh, damn it. I know this person. I feel bad because I don't know him very well, obviously. Is it Terrence? Terrence something? Fuck. Oh my God. Sorry, am I allowed to curse? Yes. The person who did Random Acts of Flyness. That director, right? Terrence Nance, maybe? It was one of his
know the show.
Projects that, like, I'm not even sure. I guess it did air. I don't know. I don't think I ever heard anything else about it, or it might have been something that they filmed but didn't actually use. I don't know, but it was something for him. And it was like this random, like, my friend just called me and was like, hey, they need extra dancers. Can you come to this like thing for Terrence Nance and HBO? And I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, it was definitely on that like weird side of HBO, like kind of in the vein of what we were talking about earlier with what was it? The movie we were just talking about. With the horse people.
Sorry to bother you.
Sorry to bother you. Yeah, it was definitely in that vein of like black weirdness going on, which I'm totally down for. But it's just so funny because I kind of showed up randomly, not really knowing like what I was in for, and it was very interesting. Yeah, so that was I think that's the HBO thing that you're talking about. There's been so many
gigs in
shows and projects and just random stuff. Yeah.
Well, what's been your favorite?
Favorite? Ooh.
What's one or two that you really enjoyed?
Favorite? Damn it, that's a great question. I don't know. Let's see. Let me think. I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, dancing with rock bands is always really fun. There are a couple of bands like that where, like, well, actually, we've danced to all kinds of music, but I don't know. There's just something about dancing with rock bands that's really fun. But yeah, I don't know if there's like one show. I mean, because I've leaned pretty heavily into playwriting for the last few years. You know, part of that was because of COVID, but even before that, I feel like I was starting to lean more into like theater work as opposed to like random dance gigs. Even though we did our own shows, like even throughout my like late teens and 20s too. But yeah, and I don't know, I guess I don't have a favorite. I bet I'll remember something really cool like as soon as the podcast is over. But yeah, just I've done a lot of like experimental theater work and like started to incorporate the dance into that. So like that's like, and you know, now the focus is on playwriting, so that's been kind of the reality for my most like recent memory. But yeah, I've did a lot of interesting stuff.
Wow. Seems like you have done a lot of interesting stuff. If I ever hear someone says, "Oh, we want this made for HBO," I'm running there. Doesn't know what they're doing. Lay down in the ditch for 10 minutes, please, Hunter. Okay, whatever you need.
Yeah, right.
Don't worry. You want to shoot me with a paintball? Okay, if you really have to. Okay, so this is kind of you're gonna have to go back many years and think of. So when you wanted to start, when you started making art or doing anything to do with art, did you have like a dream? Did you like be like, this is what I want to be one day? I want to create.
Well, I originally wanted to be a painter, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did, like I mentioned earlier, I did a lot more visual art when I was younger. I think I always maybe kind of had a affinity for like entertainment as well. But if you had asked me when I was like, I don't know, 5, I probably would have said I want to be a painter. So what led me? I mean, I did do, okay, so I was writing, it's kind of writing from a young age, yeah, and storytelling from a pretty young age. And my dad has stories about like, he's like, oh yeah, you used to talk about like, I don't know, all these crazy kingdoms from like Persia and China and blah, blah, blah. I don't know where I got all that from, but anyway, like he would say that I used to talk about that kind of stuff all the time. And so I guess I've been storytelling for a long time. I wrote all throughout high school to just like survive high school. Became the editor of a literary magazine in high school, even though I did not do anything except like I read other people's work, but I didn't really edit it.
The beauty of being an editor.
I was like, I didn't really understand why they wanted me to be the editor. I think just because this random English teacher really liked my work or something. It's like, you're the editor now. I'm like, okay. Whatever. I mean, like, it's like good to put on a college resume kind of thing. But I also did theater. I also did, I'm trying to remember, God. I was in band until I quit the band because they wouldn't let me play the drums.
I wanted to play the drums too when I was in band.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
I had to play the clarinet for 4 years and I absolutely hate the clarinet. And our schools, you know, well, educational systems in the United States hate the arts. So you had to choose between band and choir at a certain point. And I was like, I'll stay in the band if you let me play the drums. They didn't let me play the drums. And so I left and joined the choir and I became a section leader in the choir. So it was fine. But like now I have a drum kit in my living room and I was like, take that.
Yeah, they can't tell you what not to play anymore.
Can't tell
There's
me
so
not
much
to
stuff
play
that they used to
anymore.
do that. Like, yeah, okay, so you have to play this instrument. Only play. I had to play the trumpet,
Well,
which I picked, which I liked.
trumpet is kind of cool though.
It was. But
I
then-
like the trumpet.
Then they had the tryout for the drums, and I really wanted to do drums, so I did not get that. And then they had the tryout for saxophone. I was like, saxophones are way cooler than trumpet. Did not get that either. So I was upset. I was like, you know what?
But I
I
didn't
don't want
even
the
get
stupid
the
trumpet anymore.
I didn't even get to do the tryout. They were just like, no, you can't switch.
They
and I
didn't
was
even
like,
try out? Oh
no.
my God, it's messed up.
It was one snare drum. I have an entire drum kit in my living room, okay? Like, that is far more complicated than one snare drum.
is.
And I did not get a tryout or anything. It's just like, no. And I was like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yes.
that's worth
Anyway,
it.
to answer your question, maybe, like, yeah, I did a bunch of art stuff growing up. But painting was my first love.
Well, I think my first thing, I don't remember what I used to do with art. I used to write comic books.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The main character in my show that I'm struggling to write, is a comic book artist.
Really?
Yeah, because I wanted to feature different types of storytellers. So one is like an elder man who's like telling the audience a story and interact with them. The First one is a woman on death row, and then the third is a female comic book artist.
Wow.
So yeah.
I had to give up comic book artistry because I can't draw very well.
Oh no! But you can get someone to draw
Yeah, I
for
mean
you.
now,
or
you can get
AI
really
or something. I mean, you could get like. I mean, not that.
I mean, I just was like, well, if I can write a comic book, I can. I discovered like film, and so I was like, this is a better medium for me, at least. But I used to write like this. I made this giant penguin, War of the Penguins comic book. It was like hundreds of pages.
Wow! Oh my God! Do you still have that?
I don't know. It's that we moved a couple years ago.
Yeah.
My mom moved back here, and we had so much. Like that house was pretty big, and the house here is much smaller.
Oh yeah.
And already furnished. So we had to pack everything away. So I don't. It might be in there somewhere in the basement somewhere. We have so many boxes to unpack. Just too much stuff. So hopefully one day I'll find it and I'll be able to.
That would be so cool to have.
I think I taped
hundreds of pages of a penguin comic.
I made it together so that you could. I taped them all together, so it was just one giant reel.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
And you just lay it out, and it would go like, it was crazy. And then I brought it into class. Teacher's like, you got to stop setting the penguins on fire, because I didn't know how to draw like whatever, they'd be like on fire.
So whatever part you couldn't draw, you just put it on fire. That's amazing.
Like, here's this penguin's on fire now, and they'd be like, you gotta stop drawing violence in your comic book. I was like, what are you talking about? It's the War of the Penguins. How do you not draw violence in a war?
It's a fair argument.
Yeah. So then I never brought it back. I was like, well, they're giving me bad advice in my comic book. And then I got this little stupid. They came out with these camcorders, but it was like a brick, kind of like the size of your phone.
Oh, I think I remember what you're talking about. Yeah,
like the flip or something. I don't know, but I got one of those, and me and my friends used to make stupid YouTube videos, and we'd come up with elaborate stories to tell with like masks and very horrible cuts. But those were the good old days of my filmmaking. Now I'm washed up.
Oh no,
not actually, but compared to then, my creativity is nothing. Just the creativity of a child is too much. Too much to hold in. Okay, so now I've so many questions I would like to ask. All right, what work are you most proud of?
Oh man, most proud of. It's so weird, like when I get questions like these, because I don't really have like most proud of or favorites. I mean, like, I'm proud of finishing anything. Like anytime that I finish something, because that used to be a big problem. Like even though I've been writing for so long, like finishing something, particularly works of fiction, like I'm not like a fiction like novel writer person. Like even short stories are a little bit of a struggle for some reason. Like playwriting is so much easier for me, and I've heard the reverse from other writers. But yeah, just finishing a thing is like so good. So like, you know, my first play, 1001 Nights, Love Stories on Death Row, a rock opera, is like if it went on the stage tomorrow, like, you know, it's finished. But because it's not on stage yet, not in a fully like premiered way, I'm like, well, I could still tweak it until then. I'm like, until it's on off-Broadway or Broadway, like I am not done. But technically there is a completed like draft, many completed drafts, and like one that I'm very happy with, but I feel like I can still tweak it kind of thing. Same thing with Jaguar Woman, which is the one that takes place in Quilombo in Brazil. So yeah, just finishing those works is like, yes, oh my God, like amazing.
Did you write all the songs for the rock opera?
No, okay, so when we were workshopping that, because I used to like self-produce and just like, okay, I wrote this, let's put it on the stage kind of thing. I would bring in like musician, like I brought in like a band, I brought in beatboxers, I brought in like world musicians, like people who played like the sitar or the darbuka or the violin or whatever. Like I would just bring people in to do the music. I was like, I wrote in the script how it works with the rest of the stuff that's going on stage, but I'm not gonna like compose music. Like that's Someone else can do that.
Yeah.
And is probably going to be much better at it because that's what they do. So, yeah, no, I did not write the music for that. And then with Jaguar Woman, because it's an Afro-Brazilian community, music is already kind of baked into the fabric of that culture. And so, like, and I also know a ton of, like, Brazilians and Afro-Brazilians. So it's just, like, I can easily find people to do that. Like, just do what you do normally. Great. Don't even have to, like, have a composer or anything. Just yeah, go do what you do normally. And that's, yeah.
It's so cool. I always wonder how, because writing a story and writing music are so different. I feel like they're on opposite ends of the spectrum almost of the way.
I mean, I'm sure there are people who do both. I just, it's not that I don't have the capacity necessarily. It's like I kind of want to focus on other things because I have been involved with music throughout my life off and on, but it's not like something I've focused on to the point where it's like, oh yeah, I could, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Someone else is going to do it, and they're going to do an amazing job, and you know that's it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's. I also feel like I would prefer the input of other people. Like if I'm just the mastermind behind everything, it just gets a little. I feel like that feels like static or. Stagnant is the word. Feels stagnant. Like it's too much of just me saying you know what I mean? Like I need like the input and the collaboration of other artists. I think that makes a more interesting work. Even though you have people who are like one person, like composers of like multiple music parts, and they put all that together and like, and then maybe they write a story to go with it too. I mean, there are people who do that. I don't think I will be doing that anytime soon.
Interesting. So I would be upset if I did not ask you this, but so I know you're the founder of a dance studio, I believe. Maybe not dance studio, but the Kendaki.
Yeah, the Kendaki dance.
Kendaki.
The Kendaki Dance Theater for Social Change.
Theater.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So yeah, that is a project that I started because I really wanted to find a more seamless way to incorporate my like socio-political work with my creative work. And I wanted to work with more like diverse artists and just pull different people and their dance styles and their stories. And there was a lot more like purely dance-based shows going on, like particularly pre-COVID, but even I would say the last couple years before COVID, I started like, again, that shift more into like playwriting where like dance is still heavily featured, but not necessarily like the main event. So that was more like, I would say, let's see, the Kendaki, I started that in, I think 2011. Wow. And, yeah, it was just like a way to tell marginalized stories, talk about issues that were important to us, but we were doing it all through dance. There was no scripts or anything like that originally. And so, yeah, we do lots of workshops, like free stuff for the community. Like we just come up with like events and like put it on the street or in the subway. I mean, yeah, so that's, I mean, you know, it still exists. I still consider even this playwriting stuff that I'm doing now, I still consider that as a part of the ethos of the Kendaki because it's like kind of the same thing, except I'm like focusing more on writing scripts and I'm not like self-producing like shows constantly. I'm just like waiting for the opportunities to come to me and like, okay, someone can commission this. I don't need to like put all my own money and whatever into it. Like someone else can. There are these opportunities out there. And I think like when I was younger, I just didn't realize that as much. Because, you know, I didn't major in theater. I didn't major in dance. I majored in writing. Then I decided I was going to be a dancer. So it took like a long time to come full circle and just realize like, oh, there are these things that I should be doing to support my work. I mean, like, and there's nothing wrong with like self-producing stuff and just DIY doing stuff. That's actually really cool. I found that like, because I meet a lot of other writers in like, residencies like this or whatever. And a lot of, particularly playwrights, they have plays that they've never seen like any version of it on the stage. And I have, because I used to self-produce shit all the time. Like, here's a little excerpt. Let's just put this on the stage and see what it looks like. You know what I mean? And I took that initiative from the fact that I had been doing dance stuff and experimental theater for so long. That to me, it wasn't like any big deal. But yeah, at this point in my life and career, I'm like, nope, I need to have a budget first to pay people, and I need to have this, I need to have that, and if I don't have that, then we'll just keep doing, little fellowships or residencies or whatever until like those like larger, until someone wants to commission something, because it's so hard to self-produce stuff and then also perform and then also direct, which I don't know why I was doing all that, but anyway, it was yeah, I had my time for that, and I'm not gonna do it anymore. At least not right now. At least not for the time being.
It sounds more than fair to not have to do a million things just to do one show. Let's see. I was just about to ask about something, but I've lost it into my brain.
It'll come back.
Unfortunately. Yes, hopefully it does come back. Maybe not. We'll see. So, dang, I really wish. Can't believe I forgot what it was. Oh well. Okay, so is there anything that I should have asked you about?
No, I think you did a pretty good job. I mean, you reminded me of things that I probably wouldn't have even thought of. There's a website. www.thekandake.com. Kandake is Kandake. And you can find out a lot more about my current and past work there. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else I'm thinking through like a recent newsletter of mine.
I actually just remembered what I was going to ask.
What did I announce in that? Well, there's there's some literary magazine thing, and there's like, I mentioned Ma's House and some things that are coming up like next year, but it's next year. I mean, like, I don't know. It's worth mentioning.
We should mention your workshop tomorrow. That's something we didn't talk about. I think that's what I was going to ask you about.
That is actually a great thing to mention. Everybody come to Ma's House tomorrow. It is, I'm doing a workshop the workshop is called Moving and Meditating Through Writer's Block, because really writer's block is stress and overwhelm or fear. And so how to work through those things, just some techniques that you can use. And it doesn't have to be for writing, it could be for anything. So if anyone wants to come to that tomorrow, the workshop starts at 6 p.m. Ma's House is at 159 Old Point Road. Did I get it right?
I believe so.
In Southampton. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we were going to have an open mic, but we're going to kind of play it by ear and see if people aren't comfortable with an open mic, then maybe we'll just share what we wrote in the workshop, or, have like a less formal reading. But yeah, that's going on tomorrow at 6.
Well, I am excited to participate.
Nice.
I'll also be making some sort of video about the workshop as well.
Oh, okay.
So that will be, for anyone who misses it, at least be able to get a glimpse of what you missed out on. So then you get FOMO and have to come to all the other workshops that we put on. Yeah, well, I was going to, at the end of the podcast, I usually give people a couple minutes just to tell everyone like their websites and their social media and stuff. So try to think of other things to tell them. Okay.
So the website does have the social media links on it. So there's TikTok, there's a Instagram, there's Facebook, all that crap. It's thekandake.com. What else could I mention? I just feel like it's so premature to mention this, but I am doing a reading of 1001 Nights, Love Stories on Death Row, on February whenever President's Day Monday is in 2024. It's in my newsletter. It's not yet on my website. Yeah, it's just going to be a reading. It's going to be directed by Shubhra Prakash. There'll be more information about that coming out, but it's like February of next year, so it's kind of like far. There'll be another reading like maybe the month after that for the new play that I am writing and struggling with right now. It's called The Art of War and Hip Hop. Hopefully it'll be really good. We'll see. Hopefully I finish it. Hopefully I finish it in time. Because that's actually what I'm writing for another residency that's based out of New York City. Different type of residency though, but it's like a residency where you complete a work. And so I'm just hoping that I complete it.
Well, you also need to mention where people can play your video game.
Oh, damn it. We were talking about that, and I completely forgot about that.
I also completely forgot until just now, of course.
It's also not important at all. But anyway, so I wrote this game called The Forest Protector, and it is playable on the Chapters app. And the app is a total shit show. It's such a mess. I mean, like, should I not say that? Whatever. Anyway, it's like, you'll open the app or you'll download the app, and it's like all these terrible, like, romance novels, like straight up Twilight vampire versus werewolf, like just really hilariously bad stuff. But anyway, some of the books are good. I think my story is good.
Are there vampires in it?
No, there are no vampires in it.
Wolves?
No. Well, there might be some wolves, but not werewolves.
Okay.
Because it's called The Forest Protector. It's an eco thriller about a girl who gets lost in the woods. Very diverse cast of characters. It was just a lot of fun to write. I mean, I feel like it's a choose your own adventure style game. So I don't know if anybody like is old enough to remember the choose your own adventure style books. It's a choose your own adventure style like phone game. So you, depending on what you choose, the outcome will be different. There's like 30 different endings, and it was just like a lot of fun to write. Like as I was writing, I was like, this is kind of like the most fun I've ever had writing something. And maybe part of that was because I didn't consider it serious. Like I was just like, oh, I'm just doing this for fun and whatever. And but it was just so fun. It was so fun. I don't think I would do a game like that again by myself, but the fact that I did it once, I was like, it's there, you can play it, you don't have to play it. I think you have to download the app and create a profile, and either you can I think there's a link on my website where it should take you directly to it. If that doesn't work, you can also search The Forest Protector in the Chapters app. Like I think in Community Visual Stories you can search it. But yeah, it was just so much fun to write.
It sounds like fun to play. Maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think.
Now. Or I feel like I'm going to get the one ending where I like end up dead in the ditch.
I don't think there's an ending like that. You're fine. There's a lot of different endings, but most of them are fun.
Oh, good. Okay. Right. I turned myself into a werewolf ending. Hopefully, I could get that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Add it the DLC extra Hunter's ending, Hunter's special ending, turned into a werewolf.
Nice.
Yeah, I think. I guess we're at the. Oh, I guess I'll give you a chance to. Since I just asked you a million questions, do you have any questions for me? You don't have to.
What's I don't know. Tell me a little bit more about your story. So you live here on Shinnecock Nation. Like your mother grew up here, right?
Yes.
Okay. Like what is that like? Do you miss Philadelphia? Like do you?
So I lived in Westchester County up until I was like 19.
Okay.
I like left school. I left college, moved back because I was in school for marketing. And I was like, I wasn't doing as well as someone who was going to college should be doing. So I was like, I don't really care about this. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. So then 3 of my friends who also dropped out of college, they all wanted to be rappers.
Wow.
So, and I was like figuring out this, like, okay, I want to do stuff with videos and like movies and music videos. So we all moved in together in Philadelphia. We got a house there. And then a year and a half ago, I was like, am I going to stay in Philadelphia? Because everyone's kind of like going their separate ways. They weren't really making music. I only think one of them still makes music, if at all any.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, I know what I want. I was like, I know what I want to do now. So I want to do art. So I was like, I could stay in Philadelphia because I knew people. Right. Come back here. And then I came back here for like a couple days, and there was like a grant situation that was coming for Creators Rebuild New York. And Jeremy had like a little workshop about it, and only like me and like 2 other people showed up. My aunt Denise, my mom also went, and I think 2 other people. And then we just like talked about it, and we're like, okay, well we could like go in on the grant together. Jeremy's mom, Brianna, Jeremy, and me. And then so that's kind of how.
And did you get the grant?
Yeah, we've got the grant.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so now,
awesome.
So now I have
an
artist job.
I remember hearing about that. Like it was, so you got, I feel like there were 2. There was one where it was like.
There was a weekly, what was it called? It was called Guaranteed Income, I think. Artist Guaranteed Income, which got a completely fucked up mess by these people. Because it was supposed to, they like opened it to anybody. So I think a bunch of non-artists got it. And then a bunch of like artists who are really well off also got it because they randomized it.
Yikes!
And I think so.
Oh wow!
They had to turn. It was hilarious because it came out the day. Like I was like trying to check every day. I was checking. I was like, "Are we getting the grant or not?" Because I was like, "Am I going to be an artist or not?" Basically. And then one day they turned off comments. And I was like, "Oh my god, what's happening?"
Yeah. And
then they posted something. They by mistake turned it back on, and that most recent post they had like 100 or 200 comments. I never see them get any comments before, and it was just all people upset that they didn't get it, and they saw who did win. And it was just like
they're like, crazy. That dude is like a trust fund baby. What are you doing?
And I was like, oh god, what's happening with my grant? And then like, is that gonna affect mine? Luckily, it did not. We actually had to like interviews and stuff. And Jeremy was he was like the liaison for this Long Island area to like tell people about it. So like,
nice.
They also like knew who he was, so that was good. And just being connected to Jeremy Dennis is also just, people love Jeremy and his work. So
that's awesome. I'm so glad you guys got that.
Me too. He's definitely changed. I don't know what I'd be doing, and I mean, who knows? Might be very different. Maybe back in school or something. We only have a year left of the grant now, so then we have to figure out. Then I have to figure out what to do next. I'm staying, or not. But having a nice director of production title for 2 years.
Yeah, nice.
It could be
going on the resume.
Like to stay. Yeah, going on the resume. It's like, oh, he might know what he's doing. Maybe I don't, but you won't know that till it's too late if you hire me. So, yeah, that's kind of my story. And then, yeah, we moved back like 3-4 years ago, I guess, from Westchester after my sister was done with high school. Moved back. Just the terms of divorce agreements, classic. They're like, well, we had to sell the house at that time, so we did. And then, yeah, so then sometimes I'll go visit my dad in Westchester whenever I can, because that's where all my friends are. So I'll go there.
Okay.
And then come back here, because people my age cannot afford to live here under normal circumstances. So there aren't too many young people, but.
Right. Well, yeah, the Hamptons. I didn't even, like, when I told people where I was going, they're like, oh, you're going to the Hamptons. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I am. Like, I didn't think about it that way, but it is that. Yeah.
It is crazy, especially Labor Day weekend's going to be. One funny thing about the Hamptons is they've listened to fashion rules that you like hear on TV. It's like, don't wear white after Labor Day. You're going to be seeing everyone wearing white up until Monday, and then they're just no more. It's like I see it every year.
That's adorable. Yeah, I love that that's a thing.
That. I'm like, why? It's a white shirt. I'm like, yep, it's not Labor Day anymore. Do you know where you live? No, I guess. The rules hunter. So they have crazy things like that actually happen here. It's just weird.
That's so funny. Am I going to be here after? Damn it, I won't be here after Labor Day. Otherwise, I'd wear all white. I don't even think I own that much white. I have white pants. Darn it.
Not allowed.
Darn it. Well, I won't be here after Labor Day to show everyone up with my white
pants.
Linen pants.
I think I have one white shirt. I'm getting all my use out of it up until Monday. And then,
I have a lot of New Yorker black.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I used to like just only wear black, and then now I had to up my style a little bit. I know I'm like, this is not a nice clothing, but it's better than just whatever I was wearing before, like graphic tees and shit. Because I gotta look like a production director at all the Boss House events.
Hey, who says you can't wear graphic tees? I mean, unless they put that in the job description. I don't know.
It was not, but I don't know. Just compare it, because like the other artists around here, they're like very dressed up and looking. Sometimes you kind of gotta somewhat look the part.
Yeah,
and you're like Jeremy, you don't gotta look the part. You can just make your art, and they're like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever, and then they give you all the money in the world. But yeah. Someone like me, I have to wear clothing from Target instead of Walmart now.
Target has some good stuff.
Target has excellent things for. You don't even need it. If you don't have a budget, you can go crazy at Target. They got everything there. I do enjoy the Target clothing.
Nice.
I spend all my clothing budget on shoes. So that's my problem. All right, now I'm just yammering. So I guess that. Basically the end. Yeah, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah,
I don't think
thank
we have
you.
anything else. Check out your website and everything. Check out I'm putting everything in the description because we did talk about that like 10 minutes ago at this point. So now, I'll have it reiterated in the description for everyone listening. Thank you to everyone who made it this far. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Moz House podcast. Oops.